Okay. All right. So if you're joining now, you'll see the opening of the kiln. Always a fun moment. We did this a few weeks ago, and I think it went pretty well. There's always stuff that doesn't quite turn out as expected, but that is pottery. So um, I'll be honest again, I did peek in here, and I had to unload some of the student work for a workshop that we did. So I left the jars that we've been looking at the last few weeks, and so that will unload. Um, and I'll show you each one. And I was able to kind of get a little bit of idea. It looks like we've got some that turned out and some that did not quite turn out. But I think it's always a good learning experience. So um, we'll start with what I think is maybe the best one. Maybe that's a good way to start. And remember, these are all cone 5. We'll pull this one up. So this one I think turned out the best. We'll hold it up. This is, remember this, we did a couple experiments with glazing. This was all bare clay, just with a little bit of clear over the underglaze designs, just like that. This one turned out really, really nice. So I really like the way that the clay, at least the bare clay, this fires, it darkens up quite a bit, especially compared to the bisque. You're not quite sure how it's going to turn out, but the bare clay here, there's even some parts where it almost looks, almost burnt in a way. It really kind of has that effect. It doesn't quite look like a typical kind of cone 5 that you'd get. So I like this one. The lid comes off nice. That worked very well. Nice and clear on the inside. So this one turned out really well. There's no issues. And if you look close, this clay, it's a Aardvark SRF. It has these little white specks in there. It's really cool. I don't know if you can maybe show that, but there's all these little kind of white little specks, and it just sort of contrasts the red of the clay. We'll show that to Facebook there. So anyway, this one turned out really nice. This was done with it was kind of a yellow orange underglaze and then a dark red. Obviously, the dark red underglaze kind of faded into the clay, didn't quite pop out as much, but because there's a little bit of a fade, it still looks cool and kind of burnt. So again, I like how this turned out. All of these horizontal lines were done while trimming, and so uh, there wasn't a lot of carving here, even though there's just these little strips. All the carving was done with a P21 and an FP4. So it's one big sort of, uh, the larger groove is with the P21, and then all these smaller little grooves I dug out with the FP4. So that'll, again, I'm showing this one a lot because I think that one turned out sort of the best. So we'll put this one aside. All right, next is the one that didn't turn out so much. We'll pull this out. So this one had more carving on it. However, the clear glaze got all sorts of these sort of ugly drips, and we know, everyone's dealt with clear glazes before. They're really tough. So I tried to put this on very thin. This one I did dip, and so you can tell, it does really change the color of the clay. So you can see kind of here on the bottom, this is the sort of like bare, dark red natural clay. This is with clear. It almost turned it brown, which normally I don't think is that bad, but it's just some of the thickness inconsistency, which is always tough. You get any kind of little drip that, this you might not be able to see right away when you're actually glazing it, but it's just enough to actually kind of pop this off. It's enough to make a difference. And you can even see here on the inside, that is bare clay compared to the sort of brown. So pretty big difference there. The carving, was fun, but I have to say I'm not super stoked on the finished piece. So I think this will become a kind of a cookie jar for the workshop here. So we'll put something good in it. The tools here, again, this is all the P21 and the FP4. So we'll show some of those lines. So again, orange to blue underglaze and a clear slip on top. This lid is also it's a little funky. Even though it's fired together, you know, it was tight, but any kind of really movement going in there doesn't fit perfectly. So anyway, it's a good practice jar. We'll put that one aside. And last but not least, this is a fun one. So this was the no carving, but the bright green red. This one turned out really cool. I really like this one. Uh, it's mostly bare clay, and if you remember, I had glazed the whole thing, and last week basically came in and started with scraping off some of that extra glaze and then did a sponge wipe. And so these always, they turn out really cool. They just take more time to make. You got to wipe off all that extra glaze. But again, it's when it comes out of the kiln, I feel like it's worth it. They're just fun. So we'll hold that one up close so everyone can see. Really fun. This is a Mako green opal glaze and the SRF clay. What's interesting is you can see kind of on the, well, it's hard to see on the bottom, but where the glaze was and then wiped off, it's even darker. So it's kind of like this, it looks really toasted, like almost, you know, where you'd say it's like wood fired or high fired, but it's not. It's just cone 5-6. Turns out really nice. There's a little sort of crack in there. And oh, that's something new. So I didn't know we had these, but they actually come with cookies. This one came with cookies out of the kiln, so that was kind of fun. So you never know. If you're making cookie jars and you fire them in a kiln, the cone 5, you might end up with cookies in there. So there you go. They fit perfectly. And so that's kind of what we were talking about. You can reach in, you can grab a whole cookie. It's a big enough opening, and that's what makes a good cookie jar. We'll put that back in. I'm going to eat that later. So anyway, there you go. 3 different jars for you to look at, and a lot of different effects. Again, you do all this glazing and you don't quite know how it's going to turn out, but you know, that's why we go back and we do it again, and we'll see what the next ones end up like. So thanks for joining. I know it's a quick little unloading, but we'll get started on another project next week, and hope you enjoyed. Saw some new ideas, some different techniques with the cookie jars. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you